have 3 different vaccines in the final stage of trials. Right now, years ahead of what has been achieved before. Nobody thought it could ever be done this fast. Normally, it would be years, and we did it in a matter of a few months. We're producing them in advance so that hundreds of millions of doses will be quickly available. We will have a safe and effective vaccine this year, and together we will crush the virus. At the Democrat convention, you barely heard a word about their agenda. But that's not because they don't have one. It's because their agenda is a set of proposals ever put forward by a major party nominee. Joe Biden may claim he is an ally of the light. But when it comes to his agenda, Biden wants to keep us completely in the dark. He doesn't have a clue. He has pledged a $4 trillion tax hike on almost all American families, which will totally collapse our rapidly improving economy and once again, record stock markets that we have right now will also collapse.
Today, the world is battling a global pandemic, and there's plenty of work to do. Some needs are obvious, like developing medicines and vaccines. Some needs are less obvious, like finding a faster way to put those medicines and vaccines into small glass vials so every person in America can quickly get vaccinated. This task sounds simple, but it's surprisingly hard. America has 330 million people, all of whom will likely need at least 2 injections and perhaps many more. That means packaging at least 700 million doses of a vaccine. This requires not only an enormous number of glass vials and syringes that will quickly be in short supply, but also enough drug filling lines for all of those vials. Unfortunately, there is very limited spare capacity on existing drug filling lines. Most drug lines cannot handle vaccines today. Highly specialized pumps, inspection devices, and biosafety machinery usually made in Europe will need to be ordered, installed, and certified. Plus, for guaranteed access, these drug filling lines must be located in this country, but the vast majority are overseas. These obstacles explain why the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Department of Defense have teamed up with a U.S. company called Apiject Systems of America to package hundreds of millions of vaccine doses quickly and safely. The government is supporting the build-out of U.S.-based facilities and associated research and development to make a new kind of plastic pre-filled syringe at extraordinary speed. We call these facilities Rapid USA. Once complete, we'll be able to make and pre-fill enough syringes to inject every man, woman, and child in America with just the right dose 30 days after a vaccine becomes available. Plus, every pre-filled syringe can come with an RFID tag under the label. This will allow healthcare workers and leaders to use their mobile phones to know where and when every injection takes place. One of the world's 10 largest investment banks, Jefferies Financial Group, is raising $1 billion in capital to make sure this vital national biodefense resource gets built on time. The secret of rapid speed is a globally trusted aseptic plastic manufacturing process called blow, fill, seal, or BFS for short. It's the same process that makes disposable eye drop containers. Every year, BFS is used to package billions of doses of vaccines, drugs, and medicines worldwide. Building the rapid network with 30 BFS lines would ordinarily take at least 5 years. But later this year, Rapid has developed ways to start making and filling tens of millions of pre-filled syringes every month to support Operation Warp Speed. Rapid is what America needs, a public-private partnership that blends government defense expertise with private enterprise manufacturing capability and self-sustainability. Together, we will overcome this virus for a safer, healthier America.
Across the country, the CDC reported regular vaccinations plummeted when the pandemic hit, including here in Texas, a terrifying trend for health leaders.
You don't want to have a pandemic and then have some epidemics alongside it.
Thankfully, Metro Health Immunization Clinic supervisor Martha Groomer hasn't seen any reports of diseases like the measles or mumps, but says if kids don't get vaccinated, that could easily change.
We do know that all it takes is for one person to be infected and it spreads.
Plus, if your child is going back to school, it's mandatory. The Texas Department of State Health Services has decided school vaccination rules are in effect for the 2020-2021 school year, regardless of whether that education is received virtually or in person. And that goes for college students, too.
They have to register to be in that school and to be part of the education curriculum. They will be asking for an immunization record.
Jetzt, wo der Winter vor der Tür steht, ist die wichtigste Zeit, Ihre Impfungen aufzufrischen. Gehen Sie zu Ihrem Arzt und ins nächstgelegene Krankenhaus. Bringen Sie Ihre Freunde mit oder Ihre Familie. Und nicht vergessen, wenn wir unsere eigene Gesundheit aufs Spiel setzen, spielen wir mit dem Leben unserer Liebsten. Sollten Sie jemanden kennen, der Krankheitssymptome zeigt, ohne zum Arzt zu gehen, sind Sie dazu verpflichtet, dies sofort Ihrem Bezirkskrankenhaus zu melden. Nichtmeldungen von Krankheiten Ihrer Liebsten werden mit Geldbußen, Gefängnis und möglicher Quarantäne bestraft. Ihre Gesundheit bedeutet Volksgesundheit. Viel Vergnügen mit dem Film.
Right now, there are 5 vaccines that kids in California have to get to go to school. And a lot of people are wondering if the eventual COVID-19 vaccine will be added to that list. Our ABC 10 News is going in depth, and our Derek Stahl found history offers several clues.
Imagine a deadly virus causing quarantines, social distancing, and a run on breathing machines. That's what prompted California's first mandated vaccination for school kids in 1961. The virus was polio.
We're seeing a repeat of history in so many ways.
Dr. Rahul Gupta is with March of Dimes, the nonprofit that funded the polio vaccine effort when the U.S. government would not.
At the time, this was the largest volunteer effort in American history.
With their funding, Dr. Jonas Salk launched a massive clinical trial on 1.8 million kids in 1954. The vaccine was declared safe and effective almost exactly a year later, and within days, 5 million kids got the first dose. But it didn't become mandatory in California for 6 more years in 1961. Fast forward to today. On its website, the California Department of Public Health seems to suggest that a COVID vaccine could become mandatory at any point, saying COVID-19 update. Immunization requirements remain in place for now. Any updates will be posted here. But Dr. Gupta thinks that's unlikely when the vaccine first comes out.
The supply will require us to make sure that we prioritize the highest risk population, including healthcare workers.
He points out the polio vaccine had huge clinical trials on kids, and currently the coronavirus vaccine is only being tested on adults. And he says kids and adults have different immune responses.
It is going to be important to know because children could mount a response that may be adequate, or it may be troublesome in some ways.
Now, from a technical standpoint, state officials could add a vaccine to the mandatory list in 2 ways, by passing a bill or through a regulation issued by the California Department of Public Health. CDPH says this process can typically take years, but in an emergency, it could be done quickly. The last vaccine to be added to the mandatory list was for chickenpox in 2000. That was 5 years after that vaccine became available. Derek Stahl, ABC 10 News.
And we asked the Department of Health yesterday about the circumstances that would need to be in place to put a COVID vaccine on the mandatory list. We're still waiting to hear back.
We've got population. Now, the world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, health care, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. But there we see an increase of about 1.3. The second factor is the services we use.
His father was one of the main grandfathers of the whole entire eugenics movement here inside the United States. And it's still going strong today.
My dad was head of Planned Parenthood, and it was very controversial.
And Bill Gates is here once again pushing the GMOs and everything else that is also reducing the population, because that's what he says. If we do a good enough job with vaccinations and everything, we'll be able to reduce the population. The polio vaccines now are the #1 cause of polio. There's no question that Bill Gates is not doing God's work. And if he is doing God's work, I would ask, which God?
At this point of the show, the host would do something fun and spontaneous to show how we're all just ordinary people, like ordering pizza for everyone.
But since we already get food at the Globes, we thought we'd mix it up and try something new. So roll up your sleeves, Hollywood, because you're all getting flu shots! You know you wore a sleeveless gown for a reason.
Hey, shot! Excuse me, ma'am, you're definitely gonna want to get Defoe.
Against every weaponized agent. Instead, I can make super immune systems by strengthening the human cellular response.
Banner, I know where you're going, but manipulating the immune system is dangerous and stupid. The president's science advisors made it absolutely clear. No human subjects.
Charter City is stunned by the sudden rollout of Rook Unlimited's most fantastic device ever. The Smart Mark. Throw your other devices away, because the Smart Mark is more than just a phone. It's part of you. Use it as cash. Book your travel. And even shoot video. Distribution points are all over the city. And don't let the lines discourage you. The Rook Unlimited Smart Mark is worth the wait.
Do I need this? Maybe not, but I want this. I need to experience all the new features that's coming in. And I just think this is just a precursor to everything that's going to change in the phone industry. Definitely, a lot of friends who say, is it going to be worth that much money? But I think so, yeah. It definitely is.
It was really cold out here last night. Thankfully I had a few more layers on. I had my jacket, I even brought some snow pants that I haven't used in a few years. So with the facial recognition feature, it's kind of exciting because all you have to do is swipe up to open your phone, and while you're looking at it, it unlocks like within not even a second maybe.
People camped out to spend $1,000 on a cell phone. It's kind of crazy, I think, but it's amazing. Every time they come out with something new, it seems like this happens, but I can't imagine spending $1,000 on one, personally.
Everyone asks me the same questions, why am I doing it? And I'm starting to ask myself that same question, why am I doing this?
I was actually shaking. It was like really, just felt so good. I'm gonna get back and set it up when I'm like comfy at home, so.
Spend the day with it, huh?
Spend the day with it, yeah. Been waiting long enough for it.
I never realized how wonderful technology could make me feel. The Smart Mark has brought order to my life.
And the best part? It's absolutely free. A gift of thanks to our city from Rook Unlimited.
23% of the population has been given the Smart Mark, #1.
Time to test our system, #6. The Flex Fighters are out there somewhere. Teaming up with Jonathan Rook. Let's put our new recruits to work, subtly.
We should find the Flex Fighters.
I ought to find the Flex Fighters.
We should find the Flex Fighters. We should find the Flex Fighters.
Growing up in this city, the streets of Old Town, I saw the worst mankind had to offer. chaos, disorder. I vowed to make it all change, to make it all better. All these years working in secret, rising up the ranks of the tech men. It was all leading to this day. Order has finally been established in Charter City. No child will have to fear for their safety again. The people owe you the greatest of debts, number one, for liberating them from the chaos of their lives.
You guys love new tech. You didn't want to get smart-marked?
No way. That's clearly some shady biz. Who wants to be...
You call yourself a man of science. World order is our destiny. Submit to a smart mark and join the glorious victory of order over chaos, or you will be eliminated.
Grandpa, Mr. Savick, where is everybody?
They all went to get those foolish new devices.
What? No, they can't. Grandpa, those things are dangerous. It's a conspiracy. Mind control.
I knew it!
3 hours is enough time for us to get to our families. Maybe we can stop them before they get marked.
They seem to be establishing checkpoints of some kind. This is how they keep order.
This is the nightmare I warned you about. People think smart marks are brand new rook tech that will improve their lives. They don't know they're being tricked.
All smart marks so far. But your chip makes it possible to control everyone in Charter City, whether they're marked or not.
Are you aware that from 2004 to 2014, 0 people in the U.S. died from contracting measles, according to the CDC? During the same time, 108 people died from the MMR vaccine, according to the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System. Are you aware that a 2011 study conducted by the Ottawa Hospital Research Institute found that 1 in 168 babies had emergency room visits within 4 to 12 days after their 12-month MMR vaccination, and that several children died during the study? The number of deaths was not disclosed. 1 in 168 is a lot higher than the 1 in a million vaccine injury risk that parents are told about, isn't it? Are you aware the CDC holds 50 patents on vaccines and sells $5 billion a year worth of vaccines? Are you aware that Merck's package insert on the MMR vaccine lists death as only one of dozens of possible side effects? Have any of you read a vaccine insert? Are you aware that the U.S. Congress has ruled vaccines are unavoidably unsafe? Are you aware that vaccine safety studies are almost always conducted by the vaccine manufacturers, and that none of the vaccines on the childhood schedule were tested against a true inert placebo? They were tested against an older vaccine or an adjuvant such as aluminum. Are you aware that pharmaceutical drugs under the FDA are safety tested for an average of 4.5 years prior to licensing? Vaccines are tested on average for 4.5 days prior to licensing. 4.5 days versus 4.5 years. Are you aware that a Harvard Pilgrim Hospital study funded by Health and Human Services in the U.S. revealed that less than 1% of vaccine injuries are reported? This means that more than 99% of vaccine adverse reactions are not reported or acknowledged. Are you aware that the U.S. Vaccine Injury Compensation Program has paid out more than $4 billion due to vaccine injury and death? Are you aware that Canada is the only G7 nation without a vaccine injury compensation program? The CDC uses Institute of Medicine reports to support their claim that vaccines do not cause autism. IOM's 2011 report on autism concludes, quote, "The evidence is inadequate to accept or reject a causal relationship between diphtheria toxoid, tetanus toxoid, and acellular pertussis containing vaccines and autism," end quote. Institute of Medicine's 2011 safety report reviewed varicella, tetanus, hepatitis B, and MMR vaccines. 155 health conditions were studied. In 134 cases out of 155, the literature was inadequate to accept or reject causation. Does this sound like the science is settled to you? If you are not aware of these facts, then you have no business imposing this poorly tested medical procedure on Ontario's children. And if you are aware, then you are participating in medical and scientific fraud. The vast majority of parents of vaccine-injured or killed children now know the truth. They know the science is inadequate to support claims that vaccines are safe. See paragraph above. You will not silence these parents through censorship, shaming, mandates, and manipulation. Until Health Canada authorizes an independent long-term study of vaccinated versus unvaccinated, you are wasting everyone's time. No amount of pressure from Health Canada, Public Health, the Toronto Board of Health, or the corporate control media will ever convince us otherwise. Our trust has been broken. In a 2018 Globe and Mail opinion piece, Neil Rao and Richard Shabazz said this: "The borderline hysteria fueled by the media and public health that greets a few cases of measles is unwarranted." Mr. Rao is a respected immunologist on the staff of University of Toronto. Dr. Shabazz recently held the post of Chief Medical Officer of Health for Ontario. Perhaps you should listen to one of your own. Congress was blackmailed into drafting the NCVIA in 1986. Does everyone know what that is? Just in case. National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. Vaccine manufacturers were losing multiple big money lawsuits surrounding injury and death of their products. They demanded Congress pass a law to give them legal immunity. In doing so, Congress said you must do safety studies annually and you must report to Congress every 2 years. In a 2018 lawsuit, it was proven that HHS did neither of those things. No studies and no reports to Congress for 30 years. Your science has settled one-size-fits-all agenda intended to lead all citizens down the path of compulsory vaccination is in direct violation of the Ontario Healthcare Consent Act, the Universal Declaration of Bioethics and Human Rights, the Nuremberg Code, and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in the Canadian Constitution, as supported by a Health Canada statement. This is Canada. It is not Salem, Massachusetts, 1692. It is not Berlin, 1939. This will not stand. Thank you for your time.
You shiver and twitch because you need a fix. And the more that you do, the deeper you get. But you're not alone. The devil has a hold of so many people who are in the same boat. You're under the influence of a seductive spirit, and you are the generation that God told us was sure to come. And all across the globe, troubled souls give up, imprisoned by substance, hope and love get crushed by the chemicals in pharmacia. There is a void in everyone's life, and it is insistence to be satisfied. The question is, what truly fulfills, and what incarcerates, intending to kill. You're under the influence of a seductive spirit, and you are the generation that God told us was sure to come. And all across the globe, troubled souls give up, imprisoned by substance, hope and love get crushed by the chemicals will strengthen us. Through His blood we can overcome. But it's no walk in the park when you are swimming with sharks. No, it won't be smooth sailing. Sometimes you'll feel capsized. So be sure that your armor is secured real tight. Then you'll slay the Hydra in Pharmacia. No, it won't be smooth sailing.